Hello there, and welcome to another television review from MBE. Although it says MN coming soon, or starting shortly, it's
Yes.
not movie news at all. It's the review show here on a Friday night. We like to confuse our audiences, but
I just can't
John,
be arsed doing the graphic
no,
for reviews and
don't
putting
worry
it in.
about it. It confused me. So it's going to confuse everyone. We interrupt this programme. That is the title of episode 4, John. They finally gave titles now. I don't know if
Yes.
you noticed, but I didn't notice they gave titles for the last 3 weeks of Wandavision. But this one is called We Interrupt This Programme. And for the next half hour or so, we are going to be breaking down, discussing all the major talking points of the latest episode of Wandavision. Now, I'm going to pass it over to you now, John,
Wanda.
who's going to take us through this review and discussion.
Yes, we are. Stephen, look, what an intro. We've had a series of very interesting introductions to each episode over the course of this 4-week sort of running of WandaVision. We've had snappy little musical numbers for the actual TV shows. This is probably the best intro I've seen yet. Just the connection back to Endgame, the snap. Obviously, I says it was Tony Stark. I completely forgot it was actually Bruce Banner who snapped everyone back. Tony snapped Thanos' forces out of existence. It connects back to that lovingly, and that is obviously what Kevin Feige says time and again prior to even the production of these TV shows. To be fully invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward, you have to watch all of the projects, not just the movies, the TV shows, because these are like mini TV shows, sort of compressed down. And you see it here.
Mini movies.
Yeah, exactly, mini movies. And Stephen, I was talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier yesterday on Movie News. Hour-long episodes, 6. That's a 6-hour movie. That's going to be phenomenal. But look, we're not talking about that. We're talking about WandaVision. What an intro. Connects beautifully into Endgame. Of course, it's Monica Rambeau. Is it Lambeau? I'm trying to find her name.
Rambo.
Rambo.
Yeah.
Monica Rambeau. It's all about her. She's the star of the show in this episode, certainly in the first 5 minutes or so. And it's her. It just gives you a perfect insight into her background, her personal story, and then it allows you to connect to her perhaps moving forward, because I presume she will have quite a hands-on approach, her and Jimmy Woo and the gang. She loses her mother, she comes back from a snap, chaos in this hospital, and that gives you, we've seen it briefly, Steve, with the band in the school, but in Endgame, the chaos, them snapping back into existence, or snapping out it may have been, but I think it was actually coming back, that it wasn't all fun and games, fine and dandy, as I've said in this intro. Hulk brought them back, it was a celebration in the movie, but it had real consequences in this world, and you see it with her and her mother. What did you make about that introduction? I thought it was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And what a performance from Tiona Paris, superb.
Yeah, she was great in the last episode as well, John. But yeah, I thought she came to the character that we were expecting at the very end of last week's episode throughout this one anyway. The thing that I noticed about this episode, and those sequences that you're talking about there, John, I felt that was the key to this whole episode, was really filling in the blanks, and it does that throughout.
Yeah.
The 5-minute hospital scene, we'll call it, I was as confused as the people in the hospital. I didn't really know what was happening. I knew something had happened. It didn't really twig with me at first, John, the whole snap thing, because I didn't understand the timeline. I didn't know where we were in the timeline at this point, and it wasn't until you sent over the notes I understood it.
Well, I was confused when I seen her reverse dusting back. I'm like, what's going on here? What is happening here? And then as it's all starting to play out, the chaos, I thought, yes, this is getting back, a flashback. All of the people who had been snapped out by Thanos are coming back. She's lost her mother. She thinks she's free of cancer. It's came back 2 years or 3 years before, and she's obviously passed away 3 years before, 2 years after she'd been snapped out of existence or something. All crazy, a 5-year gap. Just, it wasn't necessary, but it added a layer of humanity to the character. It allows you to connect. And Stephen, this intro had a necessary shift, I've said, man. What's in perspective, tone, pacing, everything. It stepped away from Westview, from Wanda Maximoff and Vision and the Sprockets and everyone inside this fantastical reality she's created. It took us outside for the first time, proper. It showed us a brief little flurry of activity prior to the events we've seen. Them setting up, Monica getting brought in, Jimmy Woo's back, but we'll get into Jimmy in a moment. Just the sort of conception of S.W.O.R.D., her mother creating it. This guy, I think it's I've not even got his name. There you go. But the guy who becomes the boss, and him sending her off on a mission again. It's all putting layers and backstory onto this character. This character, Stephen, I'm still not entirely sure. You says it could be the young girl from Marvel, Captain Marvel. I think it is. They're going to go places with this character. She's going to have a role in the MCU moving forward. So this is deliberate by Feige and the team, putting layers of complexity onto this character so we can bond. She's going to be a fixture, I'm absolutely certain of it moving forward. What did you make about that shift in perspective to the outside of this town? And the way it's just totally changed everything. This felt like a completely different TV show. This episode, the tone, the music, everything, it was different.
I expected it, John. After the last episode last week, I knew we had to shift the focus away from the town and onto where they left us in episode 3. And I knew we were going to get an explanation. It's funny, John, because most of the things that you predicted and I predicted over the last few weeks was how we said it would be. You know, it was all created via Wanda, you know, and her the preservation of a happier life and a happier time in her life. With obviously Vision. But I think it kind of adds as well, John, a better angle, or a different angle, I should say, to the show. I loved episode 1, 2, and 3. It got better every week, you know. But I think if it stayed that way, it would become very stale very quickly. And I think we're not even halfway through this series yet. So it's good to see that we're getting the explanation very quickly, because there's going to be a lot of things that have to be resolved in the next 5 weeks or so.
Well, it's 9 episodes, isn't it?
I felt that they answered a lot of things. Like I said, they filled in a lot of the gaps from episodes 1, 2, and 3. But a lot more questions have now been raised as well. And it's great to see Kat Dennings in there as well, playing Darcy from Thor.
Back.
She's in there as well. I thought she played an excellent part in this episode. And you're right, Jimmy Woo as well. This is the guy we all love from Ant-Man, and obviously Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Or as that says in my notes, Jimmy fucking Woo is back, and thank God. I loved that character, man. He was great.
He's a great character,
He's just got a natural comedic element to him. The actual Randall Park actor.
Whether or not it's on purpose, I don't know.
No, I think it is. I think you see it later on in the episode when he's bouncing back and forth with Darcy Lewis. She's saying, do you want some? She's talking about the chips, as he calls it, crisps, as we call it over here. Want any? I thought about it for a while. A little Jimmy Woo, get him an FBI badge. Oh, you're talking about the chips. Just things like that. We've seen it in Ant-Man and the Wasp. He's falling on the side of Scotland.
There was that other quote. I don't know if you got it in the notes or not, but yeah, it was the TV show starring the two Avengers. That was probably the best line of the episode for me. I laughed out loud, LOL, right at that one, because I thought it was hilarious.
Really laughing out loud here. Yeah, Steve, Jimmy Woo, it was great to see. It was great to see Jimmy Woo back. We knew he was coming back. It was also great, as you did say, to see Kat Dennings back. But they weren't just tacked on for little Easter egg moments. They had a greater purpose in this episode. Of course, Jimmy teams up with Monica Rambeau. They go to Eastview, as the cops call it. It's of course Westview.
I don't know if you watched the trailer last night, John.
I didn't. No, a trailer for what?
That was it for this Wandavision.
For this episode? No, I didn't.
They put a trailer out yesterday, and that was the scene they showed you where she's talking about this force field, this energy field. Sorry.
Steve, what did you make about the energy field? I have to say, I thought it was very cool. I don't know if you picked up on that. I've said in the notes, not like a traditional energy field like we'd see in Wakanda or even Themyscira in Wonder Woman. This was like, I says, an old school TV set, and the white noise, it had that multicoloured vibrancy and dotty sort of effect. It looked like a crackling old school little box TV. And that just plays in again to the actual TV element, the old school TV show.
It's a representation of Wanda's power, I think that's what it represents. And I think that little
I'm going to go to you, Stephen, because I sorted my seat to match you now. You're set up now. I look like Warwick Davis. I look like little Warwick Davis. I'm not that wee, fellas, I do assure you. I'll come back.
It's a visual representation, I think, of Wanda's powers and what she's created in her own head. And I think that was the first clue that we're going to start filling in the gaps. Certainly with that the probe, it was I know when
drone.
Wanda sees it in the other drone, when she sees it, I'm talking about Star Wars here, Pro-Price.
That's me, Warwick Davis.
See, you know how that episode 2, I think it was, when Wanda picked it out the garden, the little drone, the coloured drone, but it was in a retro sort of style, wasn't it? I knew right away that's what that was, and I went, oh, right, this episode's going to explain what's been happening over the last 3 episodes, and I wasn't disappointed.
No, Steve, look, that's one of the things I loved about it. The alternative angles, I've said in the notes, of different things we'd seen before. Little things, little side turns, if you like, in the story. The guy coming out of the manhole, the voice coming through the radio. We were like, what is going on here? Is this her? It's controlling it. Is it maybe Hydra or some other nefarious organisation? Or is it like life on Mars? Someone trying to call her out of a coma? But no, we know now that it was Randall Park's Jimmy Woo character trying to make contact. We know that it was Kat Dennings, Darcy Lewis. And we know that it was a SWORD, SWORD officer, unless it's maybe some other acronym for another word and it just happens to come together and look like SWORD. But I think it's SWORD, it's deliberate. We know it was an officer. A SWORD, yes. A SWORD coming out of the manhole. And you see these little glimpses, and I love it when they do this. We've seen it in Back to the Future, most famously. We've seen it in Endgame. Well-known sequences you've seen before, and then they take it from a different angle, and you see the other side of the equation. I love that. I love that element of this TV show, or this episode, I should say. TV show, it's because we're in a TV show. It's all Inception, isn't it? Yeah. The fact we went back a couple of days, they arrive on the scene at Westview. She picks up, Darcy that is, I keep saying that is Darcy, picks up the radio, the sort of radio, background radio, cosmic radio, whatever it is. She taps into it with a TV show, or with I'm doing it again, a TV set. And obviously we get down the rabbit hole. They're watching it real time, what's going on, this creation of Wanda. And then they're trying to pinpoint what's going on. They're picking out the missing individuals from a missing persons report in the TV show. They're being cast as different things. They're putting details up on the whiteboard. Is Vision alive? We get the answer to that later on. No, he's dead. Spoiler alert.
I like the face recognition thing as well, John, where they were actually picking out the missing people. Yeah. And that explained, obviously, who the other people were in the town. Mm-hmm. I know the chap, the neighbour, he was that close to telling Vision last week what they're all about. And that kind of indicated to me as well about the other people. I think they're too scared to...
rock the boat.
Reveal what they really are, because I think they like where they are, and plus they don't want to be thrown out. They don't want to be thrown out of Westview.
Well, Stephen, I think there's some self-awareness for some people within this town. I think, see the neighbour. I'm trying to find the name now. I think it's Catherine Agnes. Is it her? I think it is. I think it's Agnes. There was a theory floating around that she could be a witch. Some connection to Scarlet Witch. There's some witchcraft going on in here. She seems to have a greater self-awareness than the rest of the characters, because of course you've seen it in the trailer, the first trailer for Wandavision, the one with Twilight Time and the platters and stuff like that. She says to Vision, "You're dead." So she laughs. She's not part of SWORD. We know that for sure. And yet she has the self-awareness that she's within a fake world. So I think there's something going on with that character. I don't know what it is. Apparently there is precedent for witches or something. Some trio of witches. So I think she may be a nefarious shithead, this one. Obviously, it's very interesting. We see lots of facial recognition going on, as you did say. Lots of breaking down of what's going on. They've not got a clue. At this point in the episode, they've not got a scoop, as we like to say over here, what the hell's going on. But they're always one step behind.
But what I liked about the perspective of this episode was that us, the viewers, felt like we were part of the show. That we felt we were part of the show in the perspective of the enforcement officers and their investigation. Because as much as we've been watching the last 3 episodes, we are much in the dark, just like they are, and we are sort of. We're experiencing this in real time just like they are, Yeah,
it's just we've seen more, but we're still no further forward in terms of what's going on. Of course, we do get a massive reveal at the end, and that kind of clears things up, and it's going to be very interesting to see where they go after this in terms of episodes, when Stephen Strange is going to come in, when we're going to see Evan Peters, because we know he was cast, Quicksilver. There's going to be lots of shenanigans going on in this. Stephen, what did you make about Probably performances. We'll speak about performances. I've not actually put it in the actual guideline, but that doesn't matter. We can go off on happy little tangents. To quote Bob Ross, he never said tangent. He said trees, but I'm putting tangent in there instead. Who was your standout performer in this? Because I have to say, for me, it was definitely a toss-up between Tiona Paris, Randall Park and Kat Dennings. I can't quite pick out one. I think the first 10 minutes... Kat Dennings, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because she had the majority of the show, or the episode.
Yeah, and I think bringing her character back, I think, was a good move as well. She was such a memorable character in Thor, the first movie. There was just something more... there was something more interesting about the Darcy character for me than Jane Foster.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I think she's got a quirkiness about her, and she's quite
Jane
bubbly.
Foster's quite beige, isn't she?
She was, and I think that was maybe because of the way Thor was portrayed as well in that first film. It would have been a bit jarring if she was a bit more light and bubbly and Thor was that the way he was in that first movie. But yeah, there's something about that character, and I think bringing her in, and I liked her introduction inside the van where she just wanted to talk and find out who she's with in the back of that van. First guy says, "Oh, we're not allowed to speak." But she's a very sharp character. That's what I like about her. She doesn't suffer fools, and she's got a humour about her as well.
And she wants a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and I think in these sort of type of episodes as well, which can be quite dark. This one was a very dark episode, I felt. It's good to see someone come in like her, that character, to lighten up a little bit, and add that little bit of humour. Jimmy Woo as well would obviously do that, but I felt he was playing a more serious role in this episode than he did in Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah, because he's trying to find out what's going on. He's an FBI, isn't he? Or is he part of SWORD? I don't know. But
he's FBI,
He's FBI. He's trying to find out what the hell's going on here. He's investigative head on. He's Fox Mulder, if you'd like. Oh man, how good would it be if we had Fox Mulder in a universe like this?
I thought he was going to say that, John. I thought he was... See, you know how he had that conversation when he says, all the other kids were whatever. He was watching... His hero was your man from Untouchables. I can't remember his name. Elliot Ness. I thought he was actually going to say his hero was Fox Mulder. I was like, oh, please say that. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? That'd be very Inception. Did they hold the rights? What was X-Files? What studio was that under?
Fox,
there you go. They do hold the rights. Man, I want to see more good X-Files shit, but we'll get into that another day, I'm sure.
I want to see X-Files come to Disney Plus.
Exactly. Stephen, it'll happen. They're dropping a huge catalogue of new content. Old Fox stuff, it will be in there. I'm absolutely certain of that at some point. But look, man, we need to go into the ending here. Monica's eviction. They're dabbling again. And Stephen, that's another thing, getting off on a little tangent again. When they were looking into these scenes and trying to make contact with Wanda, when they were making breakthroughs and something would happen, the neighbour gets her hand cut, Monica gets evicted from the world, if you like. It jumped. There was a little sort of a cut, and the information they were looking for within, if they'd made contact with her or not, it was missing. I liked that. I liked the fact that was the first inkling that she was whopping at herself. It wasn't something controlling her in this town. It was actually her herself who was controlling the town. So I thought that was cool. But what did you make about the end 5 minutes or so? Monica gets evicted. Stephen, I loved it. When it cut, they ran off when they realised something had happened outside. She'd perhaps been booted out. There was a commotion. And then it goes to the scene itself. Wanda's looking at her very angrily. She's saying, nope, you're not my friend, you're a stranger and you're intruding. She's got the old magic whirling up in her hands. The aspect ratio was moving about. It went in and then it went down and then it was moving about. It was as if she was in control of the TV show, the way it was being experienced. She was whopping reality itself. I loved that, man. But we've seen this throughout this TV show.
Yeah.
Using technical things to sort of enhance the story and maybe gives an inkling into what's going on here. It's just a really cool moment. And incidentally, I never spoke as well when Jimmy Woo and Monica are standing outside Westview. What a shot that was, looking down the road. Yeah. That was an incredibly put together sort of shot, just amazing wide shot. But what did you make about that, Steve? Did you see that yourself, the aspect ratio moving all over the place? Did you think that was perhaps... That, see if you get back and watch it, I'm telling you, it's superb.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep with my tradition and watch this episode again. I've watched every episode twice so far, so I will be watching it again. I was a little bit late tonight, as you know, watching it. So I will probably watch it over the weekend again, and I'll pick things up that I didn't notice before. But the aspect ratio I never noticed, but I liked that scene. We didn't get to see it last week, what actually happened. We knew that she'd been thrown out of town. But seeing Wanda in full, power mode, which we're used to seeing, it was great, and
we're used to seeing it against bad people. We're not used to seeing the person being at the brunt of it.
I know.
It's scary. It's a scary sight.
And it was filling in the blanks that they did not see, the investigators did not see on television either, because it jumped, as you mentioned. There was a cut. We actually get to see that cut, and how it played out, and we also get to see obviously that unnerving vision, pardon the pun, of dead Vision. John, my heart stopped when I saw that, because I didn't notice it at first, and then I noticed his eyes were all that sort of glazed silver way, and then I noticed the big indent in his head, and I went, oh jeez, I says that's
see, and I went back and checked
Vision.
it. I went back and checked it, and I actually looked out when he was behind her in the background. You could see that he was dead even then, and someone had a theory about that. In the comics, she's actually willing these people into existence, the twins into existence, Vision into existence, and as long as she's thinking about them and making them real, they are real. So when she stopped thinking about him,
it's sad.
She was caught off guard, obviously, with what had happened, repairing the holes in the wall and stuff like that. She'd forgot to think of him as being alive. She looked up and he was dead, and it shocked her, it shocked the audience. It is sad, Stephen. I feel so sorry for the character, because he had a gruesome death, and then he had a even more gruesome death again. Now he's been brought back to life in this crazy world.
John,
he's got some form of self-awareness.
I think with Scarlet Witch, though, I think it's the guilt that's hanging over her, because she killed him first, because it was the only way to destroy the stone. I think that's more.
Do you think she holds
for
maybe something because she's touched him? She maybe has his conscious or something. I don't know if that's perhaps
what's
going on here.
It could be. Who knows?
And Stephen, look, this is one thing that always winds me up. Obviously, Captain America went back and replaced all the stones. So it's in some point in history we have a living Vision. So they can go back and do that. They can come back and bring this guy back. And I'm absolutely certain they will. There's no way they're not allowing Paul Bettany. They cannot come back as that character. Incidentally, man, Steve, did you watch the show?
John,
did you watch the show?
Sorry?
Did you watch the show last night? Paul Bettany speaking about Josh Whedon. Oh my god, that was epic.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
You probably noticed I never clipped that, but there was a reason for it. I think it was 1 minute you were talking about it.
Oh, it was epic.
I can't clip this.
Oh, phenomenal. His video done it justice.
You mentioned Paul Bettany there. You've got to remember, though, that no actor is bigger than the MCU. No. They're not going to bring them back just because of who they are. Mm-hmm. But the character Vision is a very big character, a very interesting character we've not seen a lot of yet. I don't think we've seen enough of him yet.
No, they haven't.
For his sort of way he was created, and the way he's morphed over the years, from obviously Jarvis through to his physical form. We've only scratched the surface with this character. That's why I'm glad we've got this television series. And I know it's a sort of kooky version of the character we're getting at the moment.
So cookie.
It's we'll take what we can, and certainly from Paul Bettany from that point of view as well, John.
Yes, Stephen, when you said cookie there, I was immediately reminded of Lemmy. He done something. He said something in a sketch, "You're so cookie," or something like that, and it was just hilarious when he said that. But you're right, I'm sure the character will come back. He's got unfinished business. The relationship with him and Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff too, it's the only real proper romantic relationship we have in the MCU, so we need to get that back in some form. And it'd be a shame to build on that in this TV show and then just let it all go, but I suppose we've seen that done before. In other projects out with the MCU, you have to let go of grief to move forward. We've seen it with Wonder Woman 1984 with Diane, and obviously Steve. She had to let him go and move forward, so it's not something that's alien. It could be possible that he's done and dusted. But look, man, I loved that end sequence. I loved the fact she pushed her right out the house with a force, and it had big craters, and she was even angry that she had to do that, and she had to fix it all back up. Then the scene with Vision, it was touching. Great ending. Obviously, she sits down. We get Jimi Hendrix at the end, which was good. And they're sitting with the twins. So this is continuing on. It's rumbling on for another week if you like this sitcom. It's like the Truman Show, but with a sinister touch. I cannot wait for this next episode. I can't wait to see where this TV show is expanding to, because it's getting better and better every week.
It's going to be very interesting where they're going to take next week as well. Are we going to get 50% Wandavision and 50% the sort of investigative team? we got the majority of in this episode. I'm not really sure how they're going to do it now. If we're going to just maybe get the sword team coming in, the FBI coming in, maybe briefly, or they're going to maybe split it down the middle, or they're going to take the show in a different direction now. Who knows?
But did you notice
there is only so much you can do with the whole television thing, you know, the sort of experience of that.
Did you notice, Stephen, this was the longest episode to date? I think it was anyway for running time, and it's when they step away from that sort of 20-minute sitcom episode.
Minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was round about that. I think that's the longest. So I think we will see them getting longer probably, just by small increments, and we'll see it going off in a different direction, splitting between the Westview alternate reality and outside, try to piece together what's going on, try to get her out. Ultimately, obviously, Dr. Stephen Strange will appear. He'll snap her.
That's going to be epic, John.
I can't wait, man.
That is going to be absolutely epic. I think it'll be the last episode, but I'm not going to bring him in just now. No, peak too soon.
You'll get an idea of what's going to happen in the Multiverse of Madness as well, because of course she's playing a starring role alongside him, joint leading role.
I think they're going to try every attempt to try and get into this town and go down every avenue they can, and I think that's what they're going to have to resort to. They're going to have to resort to someone with mystical forces, similar to Scarlet Witch, and that is obviously Doctor Strange.
Absolutely, and I can't wait for that moment to happen. He's probably my favourite character now in the MCU, by a country mile at that, alongside Scott Lang, of course, and Spider-Man. Look, I love them all. Who am I kidding? But I digress, that's going to round it up, unless you've got anything else to say, Stephen.
No, I'm
done.
I
certainly haven't. What has happened here? My, Miss American Pie. Let's see what the hell has happened here. We've got no outline, Stephen. What the fuck is going on here? Don't know what's going on. We don't have any outlines. It's all a bit shit looking, but it doesn't matter. It's rounding the review up anyway. I'll sort that out for next week. What is your thoughts if you've been watching on that latest episode of WandaVision, episode 4? What is it called, Stephen? What is the name of it?
I can't remember.
I flung you under the bus. It doesn't matter. What was your thoughts on it anyway? What did you make about Dead Vision? About Monica Rambeau? All of the in-between? Jimmy Woo returning? If you've got anything to say at all, you can comment below in the comment section.
We interrupt this programme.
What a title that is. Stephen, I put the titles in, but I think the second one was way too long. It went on and on and on and on. It'd be the longest title in YouTube history, so I couldn't do it, unfortunately. Well, man, you can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, hit the follow button on Twitch if you're watching on there, and if you do, you'll get more content like this in the future. But look, till then, I'll bid you a farewell with a bye-bye. Talking happy, just keep talking happy talk. Thinking about things you'd like to do.